Hey everyone, Corey from CoreyReviews here to finally do my best and worst movies of 2012 list. Now, because my lists really aren't that big or grand or as epic as most people's that I've seen multiple movies this year, I just decided to go ahead and combine both of my best and worst into one video. Now, usually every year I get around to seeing a lot of movies, but because I've been so busy with work, I usually work every single weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't really get a chance to go see a lot of movies. I think this year I only saw a little over 40 movies, which usually I get around to seeing somewhere between like 100 to 150 movies a year. So my best and worst lists are not going to be like most people's. You know, I don't even have a top 10 for the worst. I do have a top 10 for the best, but not the worst. And also this year, because I've been very busy with work, and also I've been working a lot of the holidays as well, I've not been able to see a lot of the big movies that people have been seeing, or a lot of the Oscar contenders. My list is a little bare when it comes to the Oscar contenders and a lot of the big blockbusters that have come out this year, so just kind of bear with me. But I'm going to go over my worst first, and I only have 3 movies that I have in my worst list. And, you know, this year, you know, there are some movies that I've seen that I know people put, you know, in their worst list or honorable mentions for worst lists or consider them just a bad movie. But for the most part, I enjoyed almost every movie I saw this year. There were a few movies that were kind of disappointing, but not disappointing enough to put on my worst list. So I went ahead and just chose the 3 movies that were just really bad, that really just stood out above the rest. Alright, so number 3 on my worst list is Safe House. Stars Ryan Reynolds, Denzel Washington, and Vera Farmiga. I was really looking forward to this film. It kind of reminded me of like a Tony Scott type film. It looked kind of fun. You know, you can't really go wrong with the cast. It also has Brendan Gleeson in there as well. It just looked like just a fun action thriller. I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters, but I bought it on Blu-ray when it came out, you know, the Best Buy exclusive steelbook. So I sat at home and I watched it, you know, right after I did the unboxing, and I just could not get into. I thought it was just really bad. It was just such a terrible and kind of lousy script. Even the action to me just wasn't even all that thrilling. It was also just very predictable, but the performances were really good. I thought, you know, Denzel, Ryan Reynolds, Vera Farmiga, Brendan Gleeson, everyone did a fantastic job. That's really all I could say about Safe House. I mean, it was just such a huge disappointment. I was really hoping that it would at least be fun, but it was just the furthest thing from being an actual just fun movie. Same thing goes with my number 2 spot, and that is Ghost Rider 2: Spirit of Vengeance. You know, I thought the first Ghost Rider, it wasn't a good movie by any means, but it at least had some potential that if they were to make sequels, you know, they could really expand off the first movie. And I was really excited that Brian Taylor and Mark Neville-Dean, the guys who did the Crank movies, were going to come on and direct Ghost Rider 2. They have a really cool and unique directing style. They, you know, make some pretty hardcore, violent movies, but they're also pretty funny and kind of lighthearted at the same time. So I was really hoping that, you know, they would just do a kick-ass job with Ghost Rider 2 and just make it just a hell of a lot of fun. And yes, it kind of had those fun and funny moments, and Nicolas Cage looked to be having a little bit more fun in the role. And also Idris Elba, who was really good in the movie, is really the only kind of standout part of the film. But God, I mean, it was just such a bad movie. I remember I saw this at the discount theater that I work at, and everybody was just laughing at the movie. Not with the movie, but they were laughing at the movie. There's supposed to be, you know, all these like very serious parts, and people were just kind of laughing and just scoffing at the movie. There was a few people that actually walked out. I mean, it was just a terrible film. It makes the first one actually kind of look pretty good. And yes, the special effects were an improvement over the first movie. Nicolas Cage did look to be having some fun. The supporting cast was a little bit better in this movie. But just as a whole, it was just a terrible film. I cannot really recommend it to anyone. And the worst movie I saw this year, by far the worst movie, I actually saw this movie the day I applied at the theater that I work at now. And that is This Means War with Reese Witherspoon. It has Chris Pine and Tom Hardy. This movie was awful. The trailer looked somewhat promising. I mean, I just thought, you know, it's going to be just fun, goofy, romantic comedy with some spy elements. And I'm just like, okay, it could be pretty fun. It could be pretty funny. It has a great cast. You cannot go wrong with Reese Witherspoon. But God, this movie was just awful. It was so excruciating to sit through. I barely even laughed. I didn't even have a good time at all. All I can remember saying to myself when I walked out was that there was this scene where Chris Pine's character is watching Titanic at his house. And I was thinking when I was leaving the theater that it's sad that the worst part of this movie is when they show a scene from Titanic. I mean, this movie, This Means War, it's just by far, in my opinion, the worst movie of the year. Just do not see it. Alright, now on to the best movies of the year. Now, like I said, I did not get around to seeing a lot of the big movies this year, a lot of the Oscar contenders. Like, you know, for my top 10, do not expect to see Argo or Skyfall, or Wreck-It Ralph, or Perks of Being a Wallflower, or Django Unchained, or Silver Linings Playbook, or I mean a lot of big movies. I mean Les Miserables. Did not get around to seeing pretty much any of these movies at all this year. I want to see them, and because of work, I'll probably have to wait to actually just buy them on Blu-ray when they come out. I won't be able to see a lot of these movies in theaters. But I wanted to go ahead and make a top 10 as of right now. And there are some honorable mentions I'll just quickly run through. Ruby Sparks I thought was really good. Great, very underrated romantic dramedy. Jeff Who Was at Home, which was in my #1 spot for the longest time. It's a great Duplass Brothers film. The Avengers was really good. Ted, probably one of the best comedies of the year, along with 21 Jump Street. Prometheus was really good. Prometheus almost made my list. For a while there, I was kind of like, should I put Prometheus in my list? Because, I mean, I just really enjoyed Prometheus. Killer Joe, which was in my top 10 for a while as well. Matthew McConaughey deserves some sort of big award for his performance in Killer Joe. It's so good. And also movies like Looper and Chronicle were also really good as well. And another honorable mention that really surprised me was Disney Pixar's Brave, which, you know, I heard some mixed reviews, but I watched it when I got it on Blu-ray, and I absolutely loved it. Brave is awesome. And by far, in my opinion, the best animated film of 2012 that I saw at least. But my main honorable mention that almost made my list, I personally really enjoyed the movie. I know that people will probably roll their eyes. I don't care. I personally really loved Paranormal Activity 4. I'm just a huge fan of the franchise, and just not only the movie, the great characters, and also just the great balance and tone. I just really liked it a lot, and just the final 15 minutes were awesome. It was a great movie-going experience. If I could make a top 11 of 2012, Paranormal Activity 4 would be in my top 11. Now to get on to my top 10 movies of the year. I am not actually going to say my top 10 movies of the year, simply because I actually made a video montage of my top 10 movies of 2012. Now I didn't put it in here because I didn't want to deal with the copyright stuff, but I do have a separate channel that I put my top 10 movies of 2012 montage video on, and I'll have the link down below, and I also have the link somewhere on the screen right here. But yeah, I definitely worked really hard on this montage video. I want to do something a little bit different than just talk about the movies. So check out the montage video. I'm sure most people will probably not like my top 10 list, but hey, it's my decision. These are the top 10 movies that I personally love the most this year, and I decided for 2012, I'm not going to make a list that everyone is going to like or agree with. I'm going to make a list that's based on my personal opinion. If people don't like it, that's up to them. But these are my personal top 10. But I also had to place it based on just the experience that I had, the in-theater experience, kind of the impact that the movie will have on me or the culture. I kind of worked hard to kind of place these movies on different type of aspects. I just want to make a top 10 list that really just expresses the top 10 movies that I personally really enjoyed most this year, and you know, years from now, that these are movies that will still stand out in time. So definitely check out my montage video down below, somewhere in this video as well. Definitely leave a video response down below if you want to do that, or you could just leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts and what your best and worst movies of 2012 were. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you all will enjoy the montage, and until next time, Corey from Corey Reviews. See y'all later.